My man.
I was literally about to say that.
Well, it's because I can read your mind.
Because I want this podcast to end as quick as possible today.
No, well, that's why I'm going to drag it out. It's going to be a slow torture.
Wow, this is my second introduction to monster movies.
Yes, and I think it further just drilled into your mind how much you hate them.
What do you call them? They're not monster movies. They're...
Okay, well, if you're talking about the Japanese word, they're called kaiju movies.
Yes, but
Okay.
that translates to...
Strange beasts in Japanese.
Yeah, but when I think of a monster movie, I think you can lump that in with a bunch of different things. You could say Frankenstein is a monster. You can say...
Technically, see, the idea, well, it's a strange beast. So it's about the interpretation of the word. That's literally becomes part of being such a nerd, is that people have these discussions and groups of thinking, because technically they can say some of these movies do classify as a monster movie, or they classify as a kaiju movie. That's the idea.
So there really wasn't anything else. There's no other name. I swear you said something.
If we're talking about I mean, if you wanted English, you got creature features, creature movies.
Yes, that's those kind of things you were talking about.
Yeah.
Because you said that during the film, you were like, this movie tries to be, and then I think you said creature feature.
Tries to be. Well, I mean, it tries to be a lot of things.
That's what we were saying, like multiple subplots, but...
Yeah.
But we're rushing into this very fast because our audience doesn't
AC
know.
wants to get out of here. That's why.
Yeah, that too. But our audience does not know what we are talking about. What are we talking about today,
We
Scrooge?
are talking about the glorious thing that is Godzilla versus Biollante.
In this DVD copy, it says first time on DVD. So it must have been on VHS.
Yes.
Way back.
Yeah, this is one of which we can get. I can nerd out on and tell you all about the wonderful VHS years and some of the backstory of how we even got to this point where there's Godzilla movies on DVD.
Well, before we get to that, my name's AC.
This is Scrooge.
And these are...
Real bad movies.
Yeah, this is a really fucking bad movie.
I can feel the anger today, man. It's goodness. It's like a dark cloud.
You know, for those at home that don't know, you are a big monster fan,
Yes.
Especially
Yes, sir.
Godzilla.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, we
Since
look
I was a
around
kiddo.
look around this room right now, right?
Yep.
You've got all different kinds. You have a framed Godzilla 2000 poster.
Signed by the guy who played Godzilla in the movie.
Nice. And then up here we have, is that a boxed Godzilla 1998
Yes,
figure?
sir. Yep. I have, so literally, and this is the room that we record this in, is literally only about 10% of what I actually have, because I don't have enough space right now currently to display everything. I literally have...
you got more?
I have crates.
Oh,
I have crates
wow.
and giant bags and giant boxes all down the basement.
Well, as we could tell, as anyone could tell, he is a big fan, right?
Yes, sir.
So he thought...
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, well, he thought, let's find a way that I can introduce my friend AC to watch these movies.
Yes.
Well, we started with Ape, which is obviously a pretty bad one.
Yes. See,
Correct?
well, again, you're trying to put this off on me. I had no idea you never seen a giant monster movie before, or the ones that I'm thinking of. And so when we were watching Ape and you were like, oh, this is like the first one I've ever seen, I'm like, this is not the first one I did not want to show you, but that's just how fate have it. So yes, Ape was the first one, so that was a mistake.
And we talked about Ape a couple episodes back, of course, and that was pretty much my introduction. And when
God, that's so wrong.
See, this is the formula that I think when I see monster movies. I think, generic-wise, like there's formulas to every movie, correct?
Yes,
obviously, horror movies, comedies, they all have a certain formula.
That's the point of filmmaking.
Exactly. But the generic mindset when it comes to these kind of films is I thought, okay, basic, crappy plot, like it's just getting from A to B. That's it at the end of the day. And then there's a bunch of destruction. There's a bunch of whatever. Ape was a different kind of movie, of course, but this movie was, I would say, on par with Ape. I think.
Oh my God.
Because
so
from just the surface, this movie, like we've said throughout the whole movie, this movie does not know what it wants to be.
Yes, well, I can 100% agree with that.
There's some bad movies where they exactly know what they want to be, and they achieve that sense. They don't achieve a lot, but they achieve the sense of, this is what I want to be, this is it, you can clear tell the direction and this movie, like you said, there's so many different subplots and so many different, I don't even know, like narratives throughout this. There's
I mean, like here, to maybe give the audience a little background, so this will help you. Literally, the Godzilla franchise has been going on since 1954. The year 1954, over 65 years. Okay, so a popular misconception about at least the Godzilla movies, is that literally they actually started as a serious movie, series of movies.
And they did, right?
Yeah, the very first one was a metaphor for nuclear warfare and nuclear terror.
Good timing in the 50s.
Yeah, because that was after the U.S. was still testing nuclear bombs in the Pacific, and that's why there was a incident called the Lucky Dragon, which was a Japanese fishing boat that got caught in a nuclear one of the blasts and killed people. So that was what inspired it. So the first one was completely serious in Japanese. That was redone in an Americanized version with actor Raymond Burr, and which I enjoy that as well. But that began the slow burn into becoming more and more, let's say comedic, but more and more loose and relaxed depending on the time and the director as the years rolled on. Because it literally has spanned 6 decades. 33 movies. You have 33 movies, 28 or 9, I have to think about 28 or 9 Japanese, and then 3 American, and then 3 anime. Okay, so think about, I'll translate it to you for horror, for you to understand. Imagine Jason being on as long as Godzilla. Like, Jason's at, 13 movies?
He's got, I think, 10 or 11.
Okay, so imagine popping on 20 more. Okay.
Yeah.
At some point, you're either going to be fucking sick of Jason, or you're going to have to figure out something else to do with it, right?
Well, they did that. Jason X, Jason goes to fucking space.
Right, which I've seen. That's awful.
Yeah.
That's like one
Maybe
of the
a
only
future
Jason
episode.
movies I've seen. We have to do that one.
We will one day.
Okay,
yeah.
because that one I'm actually totally down watching with you, because that's awful.
Yeah.
But, okay, so by this point, Godzilla, so bringing people up to speed, so Godzilla's been going on for literally 20 years at this point. The series as a
30,
whole.
right? Because 50, this is 89. And
Yeah,
it
well,
came out
so I'm bringing up. So literally it went from 54 to 74. And by this time 74 rolled around, it had gotten to the point where it was a complete mess of like a children's show, because they felt like they could get more money with it, making it more and more appealing to kids. So it was literally just like a live action Power Rangers series.
Now,
by that point.
was this like one of those things, like the Happy Meal things, where they want to sell the toy with the movie? Was that what it was?
Actually, no. It was just more of like they could get more money out of children and families going to see the movies, because eventually merchandise came around, but that wasn't until later in the 70s, or like later as time went on. Like there barely wasn't a ton of figures and stuff.
No,
this was
that was
literally
the 80s. Well, the 80s were a big action figure boom, so I would imagine this was around that time.
The 60s and 70s, that was just, they realized that they can make more money in Japan by appealing to kids. So 74 rolls around. 75. First 74, then the last movie's in 75, and they're like, we can't make any more money out of this. That's enough of this. And so they literally put the entire movie franchise on hold for 10 years.
Really?
10 years. They don't make a single one.
Okay, and then there was Godzilla in 1985,
Yes.
correct?
1984 was the Japanese version. That's when they came back, but then it was also remade again for an American version in 1985 with, remember, again, much heavier and much grayer and white than before. And so, but the second time around, they're like, okay, we're going to take it back to being serious.
Yeah.
That was that one you just mentioned in 84. That was, once again, serious nuclear bomb. It's just one guy. It's just Godzilla. He's not fighting any other monsters and nothing ridiculous.
Yeah.
Then they're just like, well, shit, we don't know what to do with this. Like, this is just like, we need some fresh, we need to do something. We don't know what the hell we're doing.
Yeah.
So it's the 80s. Literally almost like 5 years pass, and they're trying to figure out what the heck to do with this. They start resorting to doing drawing contests for kids to figure out what they're going to do. And they went through multiple ideas of like Godzilla was going to fight this multiple layered monster of like a griffin for a head and like a bear for legs and a bunch of other just weird ass shit. And they're like, oh, we can't do that. Then eventually they settled on this drawing, this idea. This kid eventually won the contest, was like a plant monster.
Yeah.
And so then this movie was born. And so they wanted to try to capitalize on all the different... That's the beautiful thing about the movies, is that they literally, as you go through the years, it touches on either themes happening in Japan at the time or whatever was popular at the time, going off of other franchises and movies, pop culture, whatever, and there's little bits and pieces of it.
This movie is an example of that,
Yes,
right?
it's always why I picked it for you is because I didn't think you were actually gonna like it a ton, but I think you were gonna be able to take a look at the mess of a movie that it was.
And it was a mess. Wow, this movie was made in 1989. Well, it was probably filmed a year or two before, but it was released released in 1989
by Toho Studios. That's the studio.
Oh, it was
that
Toho.
owns,
Okay.
Which, if anyone who knows a lot about Japanese cinema, Toho is the same company that released all the Kurosawa movies, like Seven Samurai, all like the big, like good stuff, Yojimbo and everything else. So they were both responsible for that, and they were responsible for really awful Godzilla movies. So,
well,
that's a little background to bring you up to why
bring it up to speed.
We're at to this point.
Well, when you showed me this movie, I think I looked it up because I looked it up and I was like, 80s Godzilla, this sounds fucking awesome, because the 80s are batshit crazy. No matter what movie you're making, there's some kind of crazy bullshit going on, and of course this movie was, filled with a bunch of bullshit. So let's start it off, because in the beginning I didn't know what the hell was happening, and
this is where I can it
take got left off. I'm guessing from Godzilla '89, correct?
Yeah. All right, so I'll lay it down for you, and you can just, if you want, you can interject when you ever see fit. And
I'll hold my hand up when I want to talk.
Yeah, hold up your hand, and then I'll be like, "Yes, you, sir."
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it literally picks off from the last movie, which literally all you need to know is Godzilla bad, he come, and he boom boom, and that's bad. So by doing what they did is they lured him into a volcano to try to kill him, and he fell into the volcano, and they're like, "Oh, good, everything's fine, so we don't have to worry about that anymore." Leaving a destruction of a wake of destruction in his path of Tokyo and ruins, and he left a bunch of his parts everywhere because of getting shot at and whatever. His skin and all that crap is all over the place.
Oh, see, I thought so. The beginning of this movie, we get like a shot of like, is it like an army or like doctors taking the sample?
Yeah.
As I said, it literally looked like barbecue like ribs or something like that.
That's what you thought, those spare ribs.
Yeah, and he picks it up and then he puts it in all that stuff. See, I thought, wouldn't you think that like he exploded and then all of his parts went everywhere? Because they kind of do that with Freddy Krueger, where he explodes and all of his parts are whatever. Jason's the same way, and each part of him is like very, well, in this movie it's like radioactive, but it's like, oh, it's got the special magic behind each part.
Or it lives on its own.
Yeah, see,
like
that's what I thought. And then we get
a
shot later in the movie where you see him standing in the volcano for some reason. So let me get this straight.
Yes.
They decided that, all right, so if we want to get rid of Godzilla, the easiest way to do this is put him in a volcano, even though he won't melt or die. So he's just kind of standing in that volcano doing nothing.
Correct.
What the?
Again,
he can't climb up the side of the volcano?
Again, that's they don't explain it, but that's again the beauty of a long ass franchise, because we've got to this point already. I'd have to hold on, let me count. Holy shit. Yeah, about 15 movies already. So up to this point, we only have 15 movies already. And the whole point, usually, even when Godzilla was really the good guy, there was always something always in his way to stop him.
100%,
So if he was the bad guy, it was military or Japan being like, hey, we're tired of this monster shit. You need to go. Then eventually when he was the good guy, it was either aliens or something. I'm not even kidding. It was aliens coming to destroy the world, and Godzilla was the protector. So it was always crazy. So they needed something fresh. So Volcano was the next logical step.
And they said, in this movie, they say his cells.
Yes.
So they're meaning those pieces that fell off of Godzilla before he went, or did these fall off on his way to the volcano?
No, the idea was, because you probably were zoomed out, they showed a video recap of the last movie.
Yeah.
Which was him fighting with the military. The idea is that when they were hitting him with stuff, just like if you got,
shot a
scratched
rocket
or
at
whatever,
him.
or you get scratched, your skin rips off.
Yeah,
it's
pieces
like
of
that.
skin.
His skin and everything is ripping off all over the place because he's getting hit with fucking missiles and all of everything else.
Why did it take 15 movies to figure out that you could take pieces of him and use it against him?
That's because the story evolves to fit whatever the movie's about.
Oh.
Because like it's not a continuation of the same Godzilla from the original.
Oh, okay. So
It's
they're
not like
different?
Jason. I don't know how it is with Jason. It's not like
Like, what do
with-
you mean? Like,
Okay.
just tell me, and I'll try to.
Okay, it's not like it can. It's not like a story arc. It's not like one story arc over 15
Oh
movies.
no.
It's literally
It's just bunch of like
Yeah,
Jason is a bunch of different campers coming to Crystal Lake,
Yeah.
getting killed by Jason.
but it's the same
not-
Jason though, right?
Same Jason
Right.
throughout the entire thing.
Okay, so
so
this is-
Godzilla doesn't have his own.
No, it depends on the series. So literally the series in the 80s and the 90s is actually one arc, but it
Oh,
starts
okay.
in 84. And it starts
So
in
this
84.
is the second movie into the '80s series,
Yes,
correct?
yes. The original series literally had different stories, different whatever, had nothing to do with one another except for exception of a couple movies.
So Godzilla was a constant through those movies, though,
Yes,
right?
he was always in the movies, but it was a different Godzilla. That's why it was either a different costume, a different look. Pretty much every
Oh.
movie had a different Godzilla design. Like if you look around in my room, you'll see the
Yeah.
different Godzillas have a different look to them. And that wasn't just, costume, but that was also like a different, depending on the movie, it just was about the plot.
And it's a different look, but it's the same Godzilla,
Yeah.
correct?
No.
So they're completely different Godzillas in each movie.
Yeah, it's pretty much just like, because they're not all connected. It's like the idea, like not all of them are connected. It's literally just
Yeah.
some of them, some will use the backbone of the first one, the very first one, and they'll spring off of that.
Oh.
And that's it. Like the idea is usually Godzilla exists and that's it, and then everything else in the movie
It's
just
all
depends
different.
on
Okay.
the director, what they're trying to do with the series at the time, and that's it. That's really it. So it's not like a
So-
continuation. So literally the series in the 80s is a completely different thing, except for the fact here's Godzilla, and we gotta deal with them. That's
And
really it.
say they kill him in one movie, and he
They
comes
have.
back the next movie. It's a completely different Godzilla. It's a new.
Depending on the
Godzilla?
story, yes.
Okay.
So like the very first one, they kill him. The very first movie, they kill him. That one's dead. That Godzilla is dead. And so then it's a different. It turns into a different Godzilla. It's a different Godzilla. Like I said, in those movies.
That's literally like horror movie franchises, bringing back your character over and over again. But I think it's more lazier, Godzilla wise, because if
Why?
you're going each movie, all right, each different Godzilla movie, you kill them, and then there's the next one. You don't even explain anything a lot of times.
Because I'm trying to cover over literally almost 30 movies. So like I said, it literally depends on what the plot
On
is trying.
what, yeah.
Because some of them are he dies, but then he has a son, and the son grows up to be Godzilla. Some are you think he dies, but he's not actually dead. And then like the idea is most of them are almost like a standalone movie, almost like a one-shot comic. I don't know if you're into
okay.
comics. And I'm not a huge
Not
fan
really,
of comics,
no.
but I do know what they, most like how they're built because I love learning about comics after I see the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But like one-shot comics are comics that literally are from start to finish a separate entity
Yeah.
from like whatever overarch story of a character. So a lot of the Godzilla movies are literally just one shot on their own, and that's it.
Oh, okay.
Like they have nothing to do with any other ones except for usually the original. They usually use the original as a springboard in the movie for the story, but that's it. They don't talk about 25 years of different 25 to 40 years of different Godzilla movies.
Oh, okay. See, like when I think about it, so what is it? Halloween H2O, Michael Myers, right? At the end
Yeah.
of the movie, I don't know if you've ever seen it. He gets
No, I've only
pinned
seen a
up.
couple of them.
He gets pinned up against a car, and his sister, Jamie Lee Curtis or whatever, literally
Yeah.
takes. Oh, I forgot what it is. I haven't seen it in a while, but it's like a knife or a shovel or something. Cuts his head off. He dies. You think that's the end.
Yeah.
The next movie in the beginning,
Okay.
they cover their bases. A lot of horror movies will do that, and they'll say, "Oh, actually, Michael Myers took a guy, cut his tongue out." And put him in the Michael Myers costume so that Jamie would kill him, and he's still out there.
Yeah.
See how like they'll kind of cover their bases.
Yeah.
There
Oh, yeah,
was
absolutely.
nothing like that
Yeah.
in Godzilla, or
No, there's dumb reason. There is. We call it us fans. The fans that are self-aware. We call it Toho logic.
Toho logic.
Toho
yeah.
logic.
Yeah.
So that's like the horror equivalent of like the horror tropes of splitting up, always the same dumbass stuff you see in horror movies.
Yep.
We call it Toho
having
logic.
sex and dying.
Yes.
The classic tropes.
So for a giant monster, Japanese giant monster movies, we call it Toho logic.
Okay.
So in this case, like I said, it all depends on what the purpose of the movie is supposed to be. So it's almost like franchises now that you find out, like you went to see the movie and it was like, oh man, it's an adaptation of something. You see it and you're like, wow, that was awful. And then you read and find out the director hated the actual source material,
Yeah.
but was given it, and they just did whatever with it. That's literally
Most
what
movies, yeah.
what Godzilla is for the most part. It's literally just the baton that's given to another director, another series of writers or whatever, just to keep the franchise going. Just like with Bond, take James Bond, another
James
good
Bond,
example.
Yeah.
Literally almost the same amount of time. James Bond's first film, Dr. No in '62, has been going on ever since. Different Bond actors, different stories, but it's the
still,
same James Bond.
The name James Bond.
So it's the same thing.
Godzilla.
It's Godzilla. Godzilla. It's the same. It's the same thing. It's just different stories, different actors playing it, both literally and figuratively.
This is 1980s one. So this is the second movie in the 1980s.
Yeah,
How many were there in the 80s?
In
and
the
90s?
80s, we had hold on. 7.
Okay, so this is the second out of the seven movies.
Yes, in the 80s and 90s.
Okay,
Now
so
this whole thing was an arc. Had a loosely underlying story to all of it.
okay, and you said in this movie, for an example, there were some characters that were small characters in this movie that became major characters in the next movies.
Yeah, they were in pretty much in all the we call it the Heisei, because in Japan they call their different time periods by certain words. So Showa is to describe the movies from 54 to 75. Heisei is to describe the movies from 84 to 95, and then Millennium series is from 1999 to pretty much the current. Right
Okay,
now.
all right.
So they also do the same thing with their normal films. It's just how the Japanese, describe their time periods.
Let's suffer through this and get through this
You
movie.
mean you suffer through it is really what you're saying.
Yeah, if anyone's still listening out there, they might have tuned out from us.
Wow,
Just
that's such
kind of
disrespect. Because everyone's just
rambling
sitting
about
there.
Godzilla.
Everyone's just sitting there listening to your, Italian horror. Your
Oh,
Italian
they're
horror one, huh?
interested. They're interested.
Right, buddy.
But
Right, they love
well,
it.
that was one thing we talked about tonight. How we're polar opposites. Literally, I'm into more horror movies. But what's funny is horror movies have a subgenre of monster movies within them. Obviously, some of the original horror movies. I mean, there was like kind of outliers here and there about it, but I would say the most biggest and the most successful back in the day horror movies were monster movies. You had Dracula, you had Frankenstein, you had King Kong, which was actually considered a horror movie for its time. It's a little bit actiony as well.
1933.
I was just never into it. And I see the appeal. I totally get the appeal because it's a formula and you just want that consistent formula.
Yeah.
That's how I am about bad horror movies. Same way I could see this 100%. And like you said, there's probably other ones that I would genuinely enjoy.
I think so, and we're gonna try to find that one, so you can at least be like, you're like, oh, that wasn't actually too bad.
I'll find that one day and I'll get back to you. But let's get to this volcano junk. So the last movie, they put him in a volcano for some reason.
Yes, for some reason. If you had a giant radioactive, would you say turtle?
Yeah, I called this a turtle. I had no
Such
clue
an
what he was
idiot.
supposed to be.
Where was his shell?
What? It's that spiky stuff coming out his back.
Have you ever seen a turtle without a shell? Without a shell?
No, but listen. He is a mutant, right? He is a mutant created by radioactive waste, right?
Yes.
Okay, so in a sense, his shell could mutate and form and create spikes.
Okay,
That's what I thought.
You're gonna need. I might have to do this to you on there. Hold on a second.
Oh no, he's gonna slap me.
Nope.
Okay. He's showing me a DVD copy right now.
Okay, what looks more like a turtle?
Yes, that is Gamera. I know that.
No, I'm saying what looks like a turtle.
Oh, yeah, that looks more like a turtle. Okay, I get it. Wow. See, I was under the pretense. I don't know. I come from a privileged background where I come under the pretense of a lot of the times monsters copy some kind of animal in nature. I mean, you got Mothra, who's a freaking moth, right? Or Mothra, whatever the name is.
Yeah.
Gamera obviously is a turtle. I totally got that. But I thought he was like a mutant between like a dinosaur and a turtle. And when I think turtle, you said lizard.
You say like more like dinosaur lizard, yeah.
So like an amphibian kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, basically be both on land and in water.
That's where the water came in. I thought it was a turtle because turtles can be on land and water. Okay.
Okay.
Let's digress. Let's move
All right.
on. Okay.
All right. I'll
Why
help you out?
Why did they put him in this volcano?
Because they thought that would kill him, or they thought that would trap him.
But if they have cameras on him, which they
Yes.
do at one point, we can see him. He's standing still, just kind of chilling in there.
Yes. We call that Toho logic.
Yeah. Why did they decide?
Toho logic.
Okay.
Toho logic.
So they do this, okay, and then there comes to a point eventually where he gets released from the volcano. I know we're speeding ahead a little bit, but
You're just trying to get this.
I'm trying to get this done
You're
as quick as possible.
trying to get this over with. I can help you. Remember.
Okay. So there's that scene where they basically aren't able to save it, and then Godzilla gets let out of the volcano, and there's
Right,
that countdown scene and everything.
Yeah.
What do they mean by get out of the... I don't even know. I feel
He's
like
released from the volcano.
he's released from... Yeah, I
He's
didn't know how to
released.
say it, but yeah.
He's released.
So he's released from the volcano.
Yes.
Was he chained up or something?
No,
Or...
the idea was is that after he fell in the volcano, they blew the top of the volcano, and then so-called crumbled in.
Oh, so it was like
Yes.
covered.
So
Oh,
yeah, but again,
okay.
Toho logic. They're not really explaining it.
How do these cameras get in the volcanoes?
It's not even actually like again, they're not even explaining it. That's the point. Is that
Okay,
they let you. I mean, so remember the
Let's explain some people though. I feel like we're rushing too far ahead. It was
there's no
my
way.
problem.
It's okay. I get it. You just want to get out. It's all right, AC. Just sit back and enjoy the ride with me.
I need to hop on my plane back to I can't even say this name. Sardinia?
No.
This fake country that they
Saradia.
decide to
Saradia.
create in this movie for no reason at all.
Saradia.
They could talk about Massachusetts all they want.
Well, yeah, it's because they didn't want to offend any Muslim countries. That's why. But it was Saradia.
Saradia. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So the film opens up on, like I said, aftermath of the last one, and there's the underlying theme of this movie is that the Godzilla cells are valuable because they're always trying to study Godzilla. It's either you got people trying to kill him or trying to study him, and they want these cells because they don't know if it's going to do good stuff for on the black market in medical fields or whatever. So the filmmakers try to use this backbone of like 80s espionage to kind of drive the film.
Yeah.
And that starts off, hot and heavy with, we open up on, American soldiers grabbing some in Japan and, the most American way possible. And
So they are there after
after the last one.
1985. Okay,
Yes.
so the city's kind of in ruins or
destroyed,
whatever. Yeah.
yeah.
So the Americans are there, right?
yeah,
But they don't talk like Americans. The one dude has like a British accent or
It's
something.
like Australian,
Oh,
actually.
Australian. Okay.
So if you want, they're just getting any English actors they can possibly find.
Yeah. and
So
just
most of the
putting
time
them
it's
in the
like
movie.
British people, British or Australian people. they
But
can
we're
get.
under the assumption,
they're
like you were
American.
saying about how Godzilla is played by multiple different puppets.
Yeah.
I guess Americans are played by multiple different English-speaking people.
Yes, because they don't
correct?
really care. It's
Okay,
just-
yeah.
So it's literally these guys that they find the cells and that in an over the top 80s fashion, which is my favorite, like the music of the movie with his hardcore 80s.
It's like jazz. Like I said, yeah, it's jazz fusion rock, which was actually
heavy bass.
it was big in the early 90s and I know the late 80s. Japanese, it was like guitars. It was basically like solo guitar fusion jazz rock was really big at the time.
Uh-huh.
I know this because a lot of artists nowadays will sample old albums like that. Like we think it's corny in a movie, but it
Yeah.
might sound cool if you speed it up or slow it down or whatever.
Yeah, I get that.
You can mix with it and do what you want with it. But yeah, this movie for some reason in the beginning, especially in like a war setting.
Yeah, it was literally like they're shooting each other because they get caught by Japanese troops, and then it instantly just goes into 80s mode where music's blaring, they're killing each other in over-the-top fashion.
Yep.
They think they get away, and then here comes one of AC's favorite characters in the entire movie, which is the Ceridian agent,
Yes.
who is dressed in head-to-toe black, and he's got sunglasses on at all times, not even at night, with a scope on his AK-47.
Well, the Americans get away and they think they're all good to
Yeah, they're
go,
like-
and then they get murdered by the Ceridian
Ceridian agent. Yeah.
And I think this whole part and this whole scene is incredibly like odd to me because I know what trope they're going for. They're going for that classic trope of in a lot of action movies or whatever. It's Pulp Fiction, for example, with the suitcase and everything like that. It's like the most valuable thing in the world.
Yeah,
and everyone's trying to get their hands on it and everything like that. But it's like, why are we doing this in a Godzilla movie, dude? Like,
Like I said, it's because they want something fresh. That's why.
I get it.
Well, because think about, like, look at it from what you just explained of what you expect is your everyday average Joe person. Like, think about it. You're just like, that's what you expect.
Yeah.
But people who like me, who watch it either religiously or the people that make it, they know what they've already done 15 fucking times.
Yeah, so
with
they
the
want to
movie.
switch it
Something
up.
different. Yeah, because they want to make money. Because ultimately, it's not about fans; it's about making money.
No, yeah.
But so they think to themselves, well, we got to do something a little bit differently
Cash in
because
on
we
that,
got to get cash in. Their favorite thing to do was to piggyback off of something else or to cash in on the times. What's the times? The 80s. 80s got you got action movies. You got crazy.
Surprised there was no coke in this
jazz
movie. No drugs or anything.
That's probably because it's the Japanese and they don't,
Yeah, they're kinda
they don't
strict
look
about
too
that.
high. Yeah, they look pretty down on drug use unless
Well,
you're like in
not-
gangs and stuff.
Well, not according to the movies we watch. So Japanese, businessmen, they're all about.
But they're in America now. Remember?
Oh, yeah. I
So
guess
it's-
when you come to
'cause
America,
we come to America, you become who you truly are meant to be.
Yep, your morals
Yeah.
change, everything like that.
So
talk about that one scene. So we were talking about the Americans running away with the Godzilla cells.
Yep.
But there's that one line that I did not know what he said, and then you had to rewind it, and then
he
point
kills.
it out.
He kill the Syrian agent kills the Americans. He steps back and with triumphant look on his face, he says, "Kiss you guys," and then runs off.
Like what? He
To
literally looks at the
Kiss
dead.
you guys.
Kiss you guys.
Yes.
I just don't get it. I don't
No,
understand.
that's the point. Is that because it's why I love it so much? Is because this is what happens when you deal with foreign productions that don't know how to speak each other's languages.
Yeah, you get that mix up.
Yeah, you either get people that don't know how to write in another language, they don't know how to speak in another language, they assume what other people say in another language, and then, or you just have the best part, which is you just do not give a shit about anything, and you just do it to get your point across in the movie. So, kiss you guys. And that's one of anyone who loves Godzilla movies. That's one of the favorite go-to lines to reference is "kiss you guys," because it's just so stupid.
It's so bad. And you said that you crossplay. Is that what it's called?
Wow, you that out of touch, AC?
I don't know what it's
It's
called.
called cosplay.
Cosplay. You cosplayed as this
Yes.
guy
Oh,
at a
'cause I go to-
Godzilla
yeah.
con, right?
Oh, because I go to the Godzilla convention that they hold every year. God, for the past 10 years.
Shout it out. What's it called?
G-Fest. What? Hold it. Well, they've been holding it in Chicago for the past 10 years or more, and I've been going since 2008. So no, 12 years. And I had a chance to do a couple costume contests and reenact that same scene where my buddy runs in with the briefcase. And he starts saying something. Well, in that case, we were making jokes about how we stole money from everybody.
Yeah.
And he had all the money in the suitcase. And then I popped out from behind the screen they have in the room with the costume contest. And I shot him and then said, "Kiss you guys." And I ran off with it. If I could find a picture, I'll show you, AC. But so that happens.
That's great. Well, the thing that he gets from the American soldiers, it's kind of looks like a fishing toolbox, kind of mixed with a lot of makeup artists have those
metallic.
those metallic cases and stuff. And so he grabs that and he runs because there's a lot of metal suitcases in this movie.
Oh yeah, because that's the when you think drug deals, you think top secret stuff. What do you usually think of? You think of a silver briefcase. It's
Yeah,
almost
it's not
always
a
silver.
suitcase. It's more of a briefcase, right? Yeah.
Suitcase, briefcase. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever. The point is, but you think usually what silver. You don't think of a black one that happens. But usually when you're thinking of sci-fi medical stuff or you're thinking silver.
Yep.
So it's revealed that he's working for a the Seradian, a fake country
It's like an oil company, right?
yeah,
or
Seradian
something?
Oil Company.
Okay.
And that shifts the action to one of the main characters of the movie, which is the scientist doctor who is working at this matinee painting in the desert at the. Did anyone not know a matte painting was what they used to use to superimpose images to make it look like they were in locations where they weren't. So today they do the CGI.
It's a matte painting. Right?
Matte painting,
You were saying matinee.
Well,
said
the
that.
drugs are kicking in. Matte painting.
I was like, damn, it is in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Matte and day. Oh, matte painting. Excuse me.
Okay.
Matte painting. That was they use that
Yeah.
superimpose images, make it look
They
like.
do that in a lot of 80s movies. I
ton
think
of-
Batman does
yeah.
it as
Oh, yeah.
well for
Good
Gotham, the
stuff.
background.
Yeah,
and
because
stuff.
it was cheap. That was
Yep.
their CGI at the time. Now they just literally, pop a computer.
It works, though.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think Star Wars was probably the first example of that.
I'd probably have to check because I don't know who could really say that they were the first.
Well, no, like one of the first most popular examples.
Yeah,
where,
but it was a really
especially in
good
sci-fi.
technique, and
Yeah.
sometimes it looks really good, other times it looks really bad, and if you look close enough, you can usually spot it.
Yep, and
So-
he is working there, and then the matte drawing gets blown up.
Yeah, as him and the other, I guess, Arabic guy, they don't even explain it. They have an awful broken
Oh.
conversation
He's-
in the worst English.
Yes, he's the one where they're sitting down in
Yes,
like
and
that
having a
oval
discussion.
office thing,
Yeah.
and then you see people running outside. Okay,
Mhm.
so
So they're having some really bad. I feel bad for the actors too because I can guarantee you, they did not speak English, and they were told to speak these lines phonetically, which happens a lot when you're dealing with foreign actors, especially in like Japanese movies and stuff. If you don't have an English speaking person, so they have this really bad broken English conversation, and then they find out that the place has been bombed by a terrorist. The doctor goes to find his daughter's dead in the blast, even though she's completely clean.
Erica is
Yeah.
her name.
Oh, very good. Looking
It's
that up,
right
huh?
in front of me. Yeah, I'm not gonna. Like I told you, I'm not gonna remember any of these names. So
It's okay.
thank God for synopsises, because that's
So-
what I'm doing.
His daughter dies, and like I said, she dies the cleanest death I've ever seen in any
Oh
explosion.
yeah,
where
not a
she's-
touch on her.
nothing.
Not
She's
a touch.
Completely, like not even dirt on the white lab coat she was wearing.
No,
Nothing.
nothing.
So
Not
she-
a spot.
so-
well, that I think is actually a trope in a lot of, even in like Batman movies. I would say maybe the same way.
Well, I guess we can say a lot of movies though, man. Like
A
that was
lot of
always
movies,
a trope of like if
it's-
someone's important, they're barely ever
They're
like
barely
dirty.
touched, just a scratch.
Yeah.
And, a lot of blockbusters do that. So
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
what
That
I
was a
meant.
trope in movies and TV shows for decades. Of,
Yeah.
the main people never getting dirty, looking nasty or whatever. But so she dies. Then the story actually fast forwards 5 years
5
now.
years. Yep.
The scientist is all lonely and weird because he's Japanese and misses his daughter and so he's just living remotely by himself and Godzilla's still in the volcano and no one cares. They're just dealing with it, but things are slowly starting to rise to the surface, both figuratively and literally.
There's just a lot in this movie of them kind of just walking around and talking. There's not
Yeah,
a lot of
like-
action. There's
no.
nothing. It's a lot of just plot exposition that just kind of gets thrown.
Yeah, because
at
this
us.
is literally the it's being stretched. This is where you see the movie wants to be different things, but they can't choose what. So while there's all this boring stuff happening, then you'll have these bursts of agents spying on them, and then the Seradian agents spying on the agents that are spying on the other people,
Mm-hmm.
and then that random stuff, and it just culminates in a bunch of different scenes where different plots are going on at the same time.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out how they can make a bacteria that will kill Godzilla for good.
Mm-hmm.
Then they try to get the scientist, the Japanese scientist who lost his daughter. They try to get him to be involved, and he's like, "No, I don't want to. I'm too angst-ridden, and I hate myself and my daughter and everything." And they don't convince
That part
him for a while.
though, that is in a lot of movies as well. It's the father who has lost either a son
Yeah, and
or a daughter or whatever it is, and then
they've experienced some kind of hardship.
of course, and then they want to basically have some kind of redemption. It's funny. I think this was the same year as Pet Sematary, because Pet Sematary came out.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, so I can
In Pet Sematary, essentially, there's a cemetery. It's an old, of course, it's Stephen.
Really cemetery, huh?
It's a Stephen King movie, so of course the cemetery is built on none other than a Native American burial ground, of course.
Bingo.
And when you bury something there, usually pets, because it's called Pet Cemetery, the pet will come back, but it's not the same. It's different. It might be a little more evil. And what happens, the main character, Louis Creed, his son dies, so he ends up... This is a huge spoiler if you haven't seen it, but
I don't really.
I don't think anybody cares out there
Yeah,
about
that, and if I see it, I'll see it eventually, and it doesn't really matter to me.
But that's what happens is the dad is so sad about it, and then he kills... Well, first the cat gets killed, so then he puts it in there, the cat comes back, the cat's evil, but then he decides, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to bury my dead kid who gets hit by a semi, buries it in there, it comes back. It's like the same way. It's basically a parent who feels
lost.
bad and needs to kind of have some kind of redemption and
Yeah,
kind of...
yes.
Even, like,
Peace, yeah.
it's also in the trope of, doesn't matter what the consequences are, as
Yeah,
long as
yep.
I can have her back in my
Yes.
life.
Yep. Which is that, in this case, plays to the mad scientist trope of that. What's really worth the name of science? Like what achievements and what breakthroughs in the name of science can you really justify morally?
Mm-hmm.
So those are all that's why. as a fan who loves all these movies, it sucks because a normal audience member or normal audience person like yourself was like, oh, punching monsters, where's all that stuff? Which I totally get, but someone who's watched it as many times, it'd be just like you looking at like a horror movie in a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be able to say, oh, why didn't they do this better? It's like the same thing in my opinion when I see something like this, because I'm like, man, there's so many chances for a good movie in here, but because it was so scattered all over the place, you get bits and pieces. So you have all these.
If it had a consistent plot, this movie actually would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, but really
there's
would have been
so much. And I'm not being racist or anything like that. Now you're looking at me.
I'm waiting for this. Hold on.
But a lot of the characters blend in, and I don't.
Oh my god.
And the names in general, and no, it's not being.
This
it's
is supposed to be my job to say really awful stuff.
That is true. That is true. But like,
They all
obviously,
look the same, huh?
There's white people in this movie. There's Asian people in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's, well, I don't know if they actually are, but they're supposed to be like Saudi Arabian, kind of like Middle Eastern, kind of.
Yes.
So there's that as well. But this movie, just the direction that it goes and how it's all over the place, because we also get introduced to these two guys. I think it's the black guy, right?
Yeah.
As well as a Spanish dude.
No, he's Japanese.
Is he?
Yes.
The guy that he's with? I don't know why I just thought he was Spanish. But what I'm saying is that there's so many different plots with so many different people all over the place. It's just so there's literally no consistency within this movie.
So all the Asians look the same, huh?
Yeah. Dude.
Wow, that's crazy. You see.
No,
I'm
gonna stand up for myself. Wait, what are you gonna call me?
I was gonna call you RC or Racist C.
Oh wow, that was a bad joke. Wow.
No, I
Get nothing
understand.
but the best here.
No, I do understand what you mean about everyone, but again, that's because it's like
all characters are one-dimensional. There's
yes,
no.
Yes, but that's because there's no. That's the. But then see, that's,
and then you get those two girls in there as well, and you don't know what the fuck's going on.
Right, but so see, you're proving exactly what I'm talking about, and where the struggle lies in. Because in one sense, you're saying, "Oh, monsters, death, simple plot." Then you go, "Oh, everybody sucks, one-dimensional. Why?" That's the problem. Is it's a juggling act between.
Yeah.
You can literally have a giant monster story with good acting and good characters and good action monster stuff. You can put that together. There are some actually really good ones like that. It doesn't happen often though, because most of the time it's either trying to cater to one audience or another.
Makes sense.
And it becomes
obviously.
a mess.
Yeah.
It's just like, there's a lot of monster or creature movies or sci-fi movies or whatever that aren't very human, but are very humanistic in nature by like the story and the themes.
But they
because they know
are
how
consistent though,
right?
right?
But what I'm saying is though, you said, oh, where's the death, destruction, diarrhea?
Yeah,
where's
all that stuff.
But then you're just like, oh, one-dimensional. Well, usually what happens is one gets
You don't
sacrificed
get
for
both.
the other.
Usually you don't get both.
Yes,
I get
at the end of the day, you usually don't get both. You usually get a movie that's really loud, stupid, and dumb, but fun.
Yeah.
Fun in the sense you want all that stuff, or you get one that might be kind of fun at times, or it's just a mess because it's trying new things.
Well, that's where I thought the 80s. Okay, you got the 1980s with Godzilla. This sounds like a bunch of fun. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of just like 1980s tropes. There's going to be all that kind of stuff. That's what I was expecting the whole movie. But we get all these multiple subplots, which, as you said, a casual audience member, not a huge fan of Godzilla, walks into this movie, they're going to be confused right off the bat.
Absolutely.
This is one for the fans, obviously. And maybe if I saw the first one, the 1985 one of this saga, I would probably understand it more, and I would probably get it in a sense. But, all right, let's get back into it because,
okay.
I want this to end so bad.
It's okay. It's okay, RC. I'll take care of it because, all podcasts the same, all Asians are the same. I get it. It's fine. So he loses his daughter. It goes into a pretty much a almost choose your maze labyrinth of different subplots of they're trying to get this bacteria made. Everybody's trying to race to get the cells.
Yes.
The doctor scientist is at first reluctant to join in, but then once he realizes that maybe he can preserve his daughter, who he kept cells of his daughter. He can preserve her, and who's been preserving for years in roses that he has, that he can preserve them with the Godzilla cells.
Wait, so he's keeping his daughter in roses?
Yes, that's what that
What
beginning
is
of
that
stuff.
even? What is it?
So
what?
he was combining his daughter's DNA with those roses that he had in his laboratory.
Where? Okay, what? First of all, what kind of job do I have to get where I can do this and just do it on my free time?
Well, he's a scientist.
100%. But
He's a
like,
scientist.
and then also, what kind of job allows me to have options where I could literally combine mutant DNA with rose DNA? Like,
Scientist.
I thought he was like a botanist or something like that. I thought
No,
he.
he's just a scientist.
I guess that's.
I say science. I just say just a scientist.
I
Because
love
that's
that you
exactly
say that.
because that's exactly how they describe these people.
Yeah, just the word
They just-
bland scientist.
is science and scientist.
Well, that's what I said. They work
Yeah.
for this big corporation, and that's another subplot in this movie that is
Yep,
trying to
corporate
say
greed.
corporate greed, and because there's that one dude, the glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really remember what we'll call him. We'll get to him eventually.
Well, you could just call him,
The big corporate boss or
same
whatever.
Asian number 5 because all Asians are the same.
Corporate Asian, because at the end of the
Corporate
movie,
Asian.
corporate Asian,
Wow.
big boss kind of guy. Just he's just all he cares about is business and whatever.
Money.
Because at the end of the
Yep.
movie, he said, we'll get to that. But yeah, it goes on this weird subplot where it's like, okay, well, we'll just decide out of nowhere that corporations are evil and they all have. But in this part, it's weird because the scientist has more of a self-interest thing. Like he
Yes.
wants to do this because of his choices when it comes to his daughter.
Yeah.
He would probably normally not care about this or
No,
anything
he didn't know
like
it
that.
because that was the point. He started off saying, I don't want to be a part of this. But then when he realized, oh, maybe I can preserve my daughter, and that weird, what we talked about, trope of like, well, I'm going to get back this person or thing no matter what it takes.
Yeah, no
So,
matter the consequences, the
consequences,
risk,
yep.
just get them. Well, that's what I'm saying is that the dad, in a sense, well, I guess dad / scientist
Yeah,
dad.
just saying.
That'd be kind of a cool movie name,
Scientist dad. It sounds like an 80s movie in itself.
Yeah, that sounds bad, but it
Oh
went.
my god.
What the hell was that?
It's Godzilla.
Oh wow, he's in a row. But it goes from like personal greed to corporate greed at the same time. Like the company he's a part of and everything like that is, kind of acting evil in a sense, because also if I was going to create a bacteria that was going to get rid of a giant monster that was killing people, you could
Yeah.
be looked at as a hero.
No, yeah, that's the point. Like that's why it goes all over the place, is because it's not just like greed, like we want it for ourselves. It's literally also, well, we're gonna use it to kill Godzilla. So in this movie's universe is literally just an ever persisting force of always just harassing. It's like the unwanted stepchild that just keeps coming around for money. It's like that redhead stepchild that you just want to get rid of. So it continues the not RC, of course. I mean, it's
Oh,
not like
RC, no way.
it's not like all gingers look the same, right?
I mean, technically, I'm going to get canceled for saying this, but I am a minority.
Really?
Because apparently gingers are like 1% of the population.
That's crazy.
I'm not a full-blown ginger. I don't have pure red hair. I kind of have.
Okay.
I was born a redhead, but it kind of turned into like the strawberry blonde. But
It
just
works for
saying,
you.
know,
That's good.
I have a right to be RC because of my minority status.
Okay.
Let's keep
All
going
right,
before
all
I
right.
get canceled.
Yeah, I want to make sure that Mr. Oppressed isn't too oppressed over there. So you have all these different plots, and I'm explaining it like that because to make it easier for anyone who's listening. That you have all these different plots going on, and as this is going, then further being driven home is that the evil terrorist agents from America, of course, they come to.
Oh, they were from America?
Yes.
They don't fucking speak English. I mean,
Okay.
they speak
Yes,
English,
that's what
but
I'm
it's
telling
broken.
you. That's what I'm telling you. That's real side thing. I have to talk about this because this is what I love about films in general. Another reason why I felt like we could watch this is because anybody who likes film can watch a film and see things that are either similar or not similar, and you can talk about them because film overall is the same thing because it's film. You're filming,
Yeah.
you're making a movie. One thing I noticed in films in general is that it doesn't matter what industry, we all disrespect foreigners. So to make it quick and simple, here in America, you have a ton of examples of being racist against Black Americans.
Foreigners in general in like American action movies are always the
Yes.
villain.
Oh, yeah.
They're the drug lords.
And that's the nicer. I'm gonna say even go back further, like to the 60s, 50s, like the beginning, where it was literally all Asian people were Hung Chung Chang.
yeah,
Or
or they were played by people like Mickey Rooney
Yeah.
in
God.
Breakfast at Tiffany's,
Yes,
playing an
sir.
Asian man.
that, or you got Black people either played blackface or they were always slaves
Yep,
or servants.
yeah.
So you have that
all around the
yeah.
world. There's just racism.
Right.
So.
No, so that's my point. Is that
Yeah,
so
yeah.
in America you had that, and then if you watch, in my opinion, you watch movies like from China, from Japan, the ones I watch a lot of. Anytime they have someone from either America or supposed to be from America or anyone who's English, they're just the worst actors. They're the worst actors. They talk really. They're always evil. They're always evil.
Yeah.
They're always evil.
They
and
seem like
yeah.
they have no inner like wisdom. Like
Nope.
they seem completely bland and one-sided, like we say.
One-dimensional. So
Yep.
it's literally, I feel like it's just it's an unintentional cultural exchange of hating each other. And so in these kind of movies, the American actors always suck.
Did
There's
you
only
take a film studies class? Because I feel like you know this pretty deep.
No, this is me just riffing, baby.
Yeah, this is your
From
film
your-
studies. All these
right
beautiful
there. No,
DVDs
literally.
right here.
Yeah, it's because this stuff fascinates me, man. It really does. This is what gets me going. I love because it could be a whole other discussion, but culture shapes the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, and movies are a huge part of culture.
Huge part of culture because we perceive things through movies that we won't actually get to live and experience. So that's why I like that.
Obviously, yeah, like giant mutant turtles.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Splinter, your giant turtles, teach them ninjutsu.
Well,
so
he ends up mutating this plant.
well, hold on, we gotta
Which is one of the subplots. I'm just kind of talking about all the different subplots.
No, you're right. I'm saying we're getting right into that because so the two, the very very good speaking, American guys who are the terrorists, they come in to try to steal some of the secrets so they can finally get this, going for one of the 50 subplots. And it's finally revealed that our homeboy Dr. Dad Scientist actually combined
Scientist Dad, Dr.
yeah.
Scientist Dad.
Dr. Scientist Dad, excuse me. He combined
Scientad.
Scientad.
Like a mix of
Okay.
dad.
All right,
I'll call him
Scientad.
Scientad.
Okay, let me see if I can remember that. Scientad had combined his daughter's DNA with Rose's DNA and Godzilla's DNA. And for anybody who's not a nerd and an idiot like myself would be like, why do you do that? Well, in the Godzilla series, Godzilla's cells regenerate, and they're extremely impressive genetically. So his idea of thinking that because they regenerate so well that maybe that might bring his daughter back.
His daughter back.
Right, and that goes real bad because that's a dumbass idea to do. So that turns his creation into a budding plant monster that kills the couple agents.
A lot of science in this movie, by the way.
A ton.
We get these shots in these scenes during that time where he's basically like stripping a rose apart and then kind of like injecting the cells in it.
Yeah, you literally see this. He's doing you see the microscope cell work.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. We get these like really cool colors and it's just classic science and super science.
AC yelled it out when we were watching it.
Oh yeah, and like the microscope and telescope and all that stuff that he's using and everything like that, super scientific. Basically looks more important than actually what's going on.
Yeah. And
then we find out. I don't know what happens after this part, so you got to keep it going.
Oh, come on, son. What do you think you're dealing with?
So what happens after this?
So, like I said, it's revealed that he created a monster. It attacks the bioagents. One gets killed, and then the story moves along, finding out that it now has escaped the lab and has made its way into the lake.
Wait, so yes, I am remembering that part correctly.
Okay.
So after he does that, the rose kind of like mutates and whatever, and then so the Ceridian guy, Ceridian. I'm sorry, my apologies.
Is that right? It's a fake country, so it's a fake country, so no one's gonna care.
That's what I was gonna say. My apologies to the Ceridian assembly. But so he basically he follows these two guys because we also didn't talk about. These two guys, the two American agents, correct?
Yes.
They're
agents.
They're sitting in their van watching Scientad, walking in his place, talking to the two psychic women, which we will talk about eventually and get there. There's
Don't worry,
it's so many side. And the two agents are watching the Scientad and stuff and all that kind of stuff, but. The two agents are being watched by the
Ceridian agent.
The Ceridian agent,
literally like 5 feet up the hill.
That's what I said to you. Yeah. I said, "Are these guys like getting spied on while they're getting spied on?"
I did mention that earlier because that is part of the insanity of all this stuff going on. So he's watching them. They're watching her. Watching the Scientad.
Yeah.
And it's just a never-ending labyrinth of, like I said, they're trying to really go for that 80s espionage, and it could have went really well, but it said it's more like a caricature or almost like a mocking of it, really.
Yeah, and it ends up. So that's where I'm just gonna call them the Middle Eastern agent. So the
wow.
the Middle Eastern agent essentially follows the two American agents to the lab of Scientad.
Yep.
And basically the American agents are pretty much like, we're going to get the jewels before anybody else and
Correct.
whatever.
Yep.
And while they're there, it mutates and they're getting attacked at the same time by the Middle Eastern agent. And, well, this part was weird, too. So you said one of them dies, correct?
Yes.
But
So
isn't there another one later in the movie? I thought there's
Yes.
two later in the movie,
Yeah,
right?
There's two, so quote, American agents. And
A
it's
black guy and,
black guy
and an
who-
Asian
who
guy, correct?
Also lends to one of the other better English lines in the movie when he says "shit, damn, we are the lethal weapon." when they're firing
couldn't
guns back at each other.
I couldn't understand, so
Well, that's what happens when you watch it so many times. He said "shit, damn, we are the lethal weapon" as they were shooting at each other.
Oh.
So
I thought he called him the lethal weapon.
no, he said "we are the lethal weapon,"
Oh.
which guess what?
Is that the
You
end of the
follow-
movie, too?
No, you following along with that? 80s.
Black guy and
Yeah, black and a semi-white guy.
Yeah.
Lethal Weapon.
the lethal weapon
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
I got
just
it.
to remind you of Lethal Weapon for no reason.
Because 1980s,
Right.
right?
So, no, the one black guy gets killed really quickly. You almost don't even see it.
Yeah.
He gets killed. The other guy jumps headfirst out the window
Oh,
to
yes,
save
yes,
himself.
yes.
And then the Seradian agent gets attacked by... Well, I'll explain that later. But it gets attacked by the plant monster now.
Yep.
And he escapes, and then it's over for the moment. And then they find out that the place has been broken into. They find the dead guy.
Yep.
And then that continues moving the plot forward from there. During all of this, one of AC's favorite subplot or characters is the one of the female leads who is almost completely worthless, who is the love interest of one of the other guys, who is a lead character of many of many of the lead characters. And then you have the girl I was telling you about, the psychic. The girl who's got the psychic connection.
So it's
Yeah.
a psychic and the love interest are, I guess, friends. They're kind of just hanging out.
Friends, partners, I guess. They
Well,
never actually explain it.
I told you,
me.
I said, I thought that, you're introducing these two young girls. I thought one of them was his daughter, because obviously you see the one die in the beginning.
Yeah.
But then you have just two random young girls hanging around an older scientist. I was kind of confused by that.
It's because it's just
She's psychic.
she's psychic.
So
That's
obviously
it. She literally just does stuff. It's
he
because
can use her, right?
Yes, he uses her to so-called talk to the plants. Quote. No one can see my air quotes.
and talk to
the plants.
Godzilla eventually.
Yes.
Eventually, right?
But for the scientist, it was to talk to the plants so he could talk to his daughter, who he put in the plants.
oh,
Right. So, like I said, Japanese baby, Japanese stuff. So they're running around, and then on top of that, we even get to the other two guys, which is the other male lead of the love interest,
yep,
and Colonel Gondo.
yep.
who-
Colonel Gondo.
That's his name, Colonel
Yeah,
Gondo.
I know, I remember
Colonel
that.
Gondo, who was one of the military guys who was literally just putzing around in the movie because he's got nothing to do because
Is he the
Godzilla
guy with the
has anywhere.
glasses?
Yes.
Oh, I thought he was the corporate guy. I kept saying the corporate guy
no. Well, the if you're talking about the greedy guy.
at the end. Remember?
Yeah. No, the greedy.
The older.
Yeah, he
guy
has
with
the glasses. I'm talking about Colonel Gondo is the guy who had the sunglasses.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't
So-
remember half these characters.
So how about? Well, I don't want to spoil it. So you'll get when we get
We'll
to
get
it.
to that.
You'll be like, oh, that guy. I can't remember.
Okay.
They're running around too, trying to figure stuff out.
Everybody's running around.
Literally.
In this
So
movie.
it's all going all over the place. They're trying to figure out. They're feeling, psychic girl. She's named Mickey. She is feeling around. She's feeling like Godzilla's coming, and then something happened with that plant monster. And
Well,
so
but yeah, and then like she thinks that, and then they go and visit all these school children at this ESP place, which ESP was really big in the 80s. There's a lot of horror movies that talk about it. There's a lot of paranormal movies in general that talk about it.
And so guess what? You just because again, I'm not the biggest horror person. I do like some, but you just explained where that came from because
ESP is huge in the 80s.
if that was huge in the 80s, then that was them capitalizing on that shit because I see that
Psychic,
something new.
paranormal, all of that kind of stuff was
Yeah.
really big because 80s was the birth of New Age. So there's a
Yeah.
bunch of like where essentially ghosts and any kind of like, whatever it's called, the fourth dimension, all that kind of like parallel universes and
way of thinking.
telekinetic, all that kind of stuff. You just think of like unsolved mystery episodes and stuff like those kind of TV shows. That stuff was becoming so popular. So I understand why ESP was in this movie.
Oh, see that's something you actually just showed
Because
me.
they use this in Halloween 5, which I think came out in 1988. The one kid starts to draw pictures of Michael Myers killing people. They love drawing. I guess little kids who have ESP, they just love to draw it. They can't just tell somebody, hey, Godzilla's coming. No, we got to draw it.
That's funny. Look at that. Not only did you teach me that all Asians look the same, but that ESP is big.
And all ESP children
are the same as well.
Are the same.
That's cool. Okay, so that makes sense. There you go. So that just proves further my point of how they literally just take whatever's popular and throw it in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in here. You've got that subplot of them. So it's all starting to come into a head where they find that the plant monster has evolved even further into what the science dad calls Biollante, who has now taken its place in a local lake, and it's sitting there. And it's creepily calling out, chilling.
Just chilling.
Honestly,
he's taking a break from this movie.
When I was a kid, I hated that wail that it makes because it always freaked me out when I was younger. And so that's just sitting there and chilling. And as this happens, the same bioterrorist from earlier,
it's like a drug dealer or some shit. They meet in the middle of like
because what happens is they threaten to, if they don't get this bacteria they've been trying to get their hands after, they're going to blow up the volcano releasing Godzilla.
Why do they want the bacteria, these terrorists? American terrorists?
Sorry, American bioagents. I mean, they're saying bioagents, but they're really kind of like just terrorists.
They're pretty much terrorists,
So it's not really fully explained. Like I said, what they try to put it as is that the Godzilla cells are this mythos, like I said, almost like miracle thing because Godzilla's the unknown. That's in the movies that Godzilla's the unknown. So he's got regenerative properties in his skin, all this whatever powers. So they think they can get a bunch of stuff out of him. So that's why it's such a big deal. So they set up this deal with my homeboy and the tightest mom jeans of all time.
Which one?
Are the one guy you thought was a Spaniard? The Spaniard
dude,
terrorist?
this guy is really tight clothing, and that is a sign of the 80s right there, 100%.
Tight-ass mom jeans and shirt, and as they're going to make this deal, finally everything was okay. Here comes this rating agent again, blasting away. Kills the... Well, I guess kills the guy because, as AC points out, as I've watched this movie for years, it awkwardly shows him shooting him, and this truck he's in tips over, but the stunt driver's totally okay. He's still moving.
Yeah, so he shoots him with this AK, first of all, that has a sniper scope on it for some reason. There are ACOG scopes and other kind of scopes where they're not as far as a sniper, and you can use it for close range. Totally get that. But he's shooting it, and it sounds like a pistol. So he's shooting at this guy in the car, and basically he shoots him. The shot cuts to the car. The car's flipping over while the guy in the car is moving around, turning the wheel, kind of, doing whatever.
Yep.
And then it cuts to the guy in the car with blood, I guess, streaking down his head while he's just laying down there.
To pretty much hint, or pretty much to reveal that he had been shot in the head.
Yep. And then the other two people that were associated with those guys, right? The two other Asian men.
No, the two other guys, those are the ones that have been trying to stop Godzilla from getting out of the volcano. Colonel Gondo and the love interest guy.
Yep, and then they go into the
van trying to stop it. Doesn't work.
There's a countdown. And what happens?
And he finishes with, as soon as he realizes the timer's going to run out, he just says, Amen. And literally Colonel Gondo, which is one of my because he's actually funny and the probably my only favorite characters in this movie because he actually has some kind of personality. He just goes, Amen, and then Godzilla's finally released.
He gets released, and it's this weird shot of like Godzilla kind of like the animatronic head just kind of slowly.
No, that was the suit.
Oh, it was? Yeah, it just slowly creeping up from the volcano, which is funny to me. It just reminds me of like getting raised on a platform, like an elevator, just being like,
he just walks out of the volcano.
So like it ain't shit, honestly. They should have had an overhead shot where it shows like a dome that was closed over the head that was kind of keeping him captive, because that shit...
that comes eventually in later movies.
Well, that kind of shit reminds me of like Greek mythology, which they do talk about at one part in this movie. They bring up Greek mythology, but like some gods got trapped, or some, I don't know what the word is, like benevolent, like I'm not really familiar with
deities.
Yeah, they basically get trapped. I only know this because I would play this game called God of War, which
I've
was
heard of that. Yeah.
pretty deep into like mythology and stuff like that. And there was always like people who were casted where they have to basically live in hell forever and they're chained up and they're trapped or whatever. That's what I was kind of thinking of with this, is they kind of like banish Godzilla to live in this little area for a while, and then he eventually gets set loose, and then I guess what happens after this.
Oh, that's cue the normal Godzilla stuff, which is him going on the rampage. He encounters the Japanese military, who he deems the Japanese military needs to die, and he does so by blasting the ever-loving hell out of them with his atomic breath. And it was great because AC's like, well, what's he got? Oh, he's got, I don't even remember what you described it as. You're like, he's got fire breath or something.
I said
What did you say?
lasers.
Lasers. He's got a laser coming out of his mouth. I'm like, dude, that's his atomic breath. That's like his signature move, his signature
See,
power.
I thought he was like King Kong, where he just blew like giant gusts of air that just knocked people over. Dude, I'm
What are you talking
not a
about?
fan.
It's okay, but like, what?
Well, I
talk about
played-
giant gusts of wind, blew people. What are you talking about?
Yeah, like I think it was the King Kong game, or there was
You're talking
some.
about Peter Jackson's King Kong.
Yeah, I think
He
it was
never
that.
did that. He would just punch and break things.
I swear to God, there.
Was it War of the Monsters?
War of the Monsters, that game
Okay,
too. I
that's
think you were
different,
able to
Abe.
like with a special, you were able to like kind of like push like a bunch of air at people and they would go flying back. Or I don't
Yeah,
remember
no,
it too
that's
much.
definitely- it's
I
okay.
am not a Godzilla head. I told
It's
you.
okay. It is okay. I'm here to teach you, my son. Yeah, that's his atomic breath. Yeah, that's one of it. That's the signature move. It's like, his power up, his Mortal Kombat fatality.
And he
And-
proceeds to get attacked in the water
Yes.
by the Navy or
Yep,
whatever.
Japanese Navy and their super duper number one Super X2, which you see in a lot of Godzilla movies, is their new technology, or their new military technology to fight
Yep.
Godzilla.
It just floats around,
floats
like
around
a
and shoots
classic
missiles
miniature.
at him,
Yeah.
and
It's so small compared to him, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
That they thought that this was
Well,
going to work.
That's the military for you in these movies. They literally they do the same stuff over and over again. So that happens. He goes underwater again, and then finally he feels like they explain that he feels like he's being called to the lake by Biollante.
Yes.
Finally called. So that culminates in a fight at night between Godzilla and Biollante, where he fries the ever-loving shit out of her. And it's her. If you
It's a her, yeah.
They always call it a her because it's supposed to be the daughter in
daughter,
plant
yeah.
form. So he burns everything shit out of her. And
She
he's-
dips, and then like there's like these weird like particles
Spores.
in the air. Yeah, spores just kind
So
of floating.
in one of the original ideas, when the spores went everywhere, it was literally supposed to create a mountainside of flowers.
Oh,
That was the initial idea.
okay.
Then they were like, that's too much. So then we're just gonna have it. She just goes up into spores and into space. So she exits the movie. Then it's back to, well, okay, that was plant monsters gone, but now we got Godzilla to deal with. Shit, here we go again. And then that turns into a race to try to shove this bacteria, which they finally finished, into Godzilla in
Yep.
some way. So they lure him into after he's sighted at a bay, and he comes into
Yep.
one of the cities to start destroying things.
After he talks to that psychic girl, correct?
Oh yes, God, I forgot about that. Forgive me.
I remember
That's
that scene. It was so stupid. It's this girl sitting on like the edge of a pier, and then slowly Godzilla creeps up, and he's like,
Yeah, the idea is that she's coming to talk to him to try to get him to, because they know he's going to some city.
and this leads to nothing.
Nothing,
So
yeah.
what is the point of the ESP
It's-
girl in this movie?
one of the worst parts of the movie.
It's such
even
a
as a fan.
throwaway character.
Yes, even as a fan of the movie, I hate that scene to this day.
Is it supposed to be like this message of, he's so powerful that nobody can contact him, that nobody can get in touch with the wild side of Godzilla? Is it supposed to be like some kind of message?
I think this was just literally just a plot device. Like, they do have really goofy ass messages in some of the movies.
Yeah, we
like
get
that.
one at the end of this movie.
But this one, that particular part, I think they were, one, trying to fill time, but two, trying to make that connection of this for future movies with her and him having some kind of link. Because she was
okay.
supposedly trying to stop him from going somewhere. That didn't work. So then they found that he was going to be going to some other, city to, beat the ever-living shit out of it. So they were like, okay, well, let's use this to try to jam that medicine into his mouth.
Yep.
And so that's when Colonel Gondo goes on his mission to do just that, and they trap him between.
Oh, this is the guy
Yes.
that carries the bazooka and stuff.
There, now you got it. So they lure him into between these skyscrapers, and they all blast this their bazookas into him, which are these missiles with the bacteria that drill into his body.
But it was weird
And-
because they were already shooting at him, and
Yeah.
then I was like, "Why is this guy in a skyscraper for no reason?"
Well, it's because they used the Super X again to distract him.
Yes.
The idea was to get him in between the skyscrapers so they could shoot the
Shoot at
bacteria
him, yeah.
directly at him. And so the team manages to do that, but as that happens, Godzilla ends up creeping up on Colonel
Oh,
Gondo.
it's a
as he's-
funny scene.
yeah.
He's just slowly moving his
I
head
love
up.
that's one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. Gondo's just casually putting his putting another round in the bazooka, and Godzilla's slowly creeping up on him, and he turns around and blasts him right in the mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and then makes a joke about taking his medicine, in which Godzilla responds with killing him dead, smacking the building into pieces, and so that ends that thus ends when I'm probably my only likable character in the movie, Colonel Gondo. So
Yeah, rest in peace.
R.I.P.
Yep.
So that ends that, and so that ends up. Next is Plan B. Plan B is okay. Well, they jam this bacteria in him. Hours go by, and they're like, "Well, this isn't working, so we gotta do something else." And they finally figure out, well, let's use more science time.
Guess
And-
it's the way to do it.
And again, all these plots are coming together, and not in a good way, but in the way that all the same people are going to be in the same place at the
Want
same
to know
time.
how it's written? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
written like that. It's like, oh shit, we have all of these other characters. We got to get them
Yeah.
all in the same scene because
Yep.
there's that one scene near the end where they're all like standing together.
Yeah, no, they literally. So it's not like a resolution to all the plots. It's literally bring everyone together and
No.
then end it. So they decide, okay, this bacteria is not working, so we need to raise its temperature to make it work. So they think, oh, we're gonna use a weather machine. And I remember AC was like, what a weather? Well, what? And it's
Yeah,
a
because
weather
they were saying
machine?
they're gonna change the weather, and I
Yes.
was like, wait, now we're doing that?
More science. So
Like what?
they finally get Godzilla out to this field with a whole new array of army weapons, and take him down. They start a rain machine, and the rain machine, is going hot and heavy towards him, and he's starting to feel the effects. And as he feels the effects, out from the depths, you wouldn't get that. Sorry, that's a Godzilla reference. Out from the sky comes more spores, and then all of a sudden, Hasey's like, "Oh, there comes the monster."
Well, I
again."
said it before that though. I said
No, I know that's what I'm saying.
I
is
was
when you
thinking.
saw it,
I know.
you're-
Oh, yeah, when I
Yeah.
saw it, but I was thinking in my head. I thought halfway through the movie when the character in the title, what is it? Godzilla versus Biollante. I don't know where the DVD went.
Yeah, it's
That's
literally.
all right. Yeah, it's Godzilla versus Biollante. I was gonna say Godzilla and Biollante. It's funny. She disappears halfway through the movie, and on the cover they show you this like whale crocodile looking thing or whatever. And I was like, well, in my head, I'm like, okay, well, there's no way that he just killed it in that. Because remember, I was like, is this the end of the movie? And
Yeah,
just-
you were just.
I kept
hoping,
saying
you're
that a
like,
lot.
Is this the end of the movie? And
Yeah.
the best part is you were so polite about it too, because you were trying to make it like you were like, oh, is this the end of the movie? Like,
yeah, like this is great. This is the
great.
end.
And it's like, no, I know what you just want to know if it's the end. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
buddy, you got to get through this. Like I got through your picks. Okay.
The point of that was saying like, okay, well, in basic screenwriting thing, you inject something at one part, you got to bring it back.
Yeah,
So
usually, yeah.
So yeah, especially during a climax, like that was the climax when when he first killed Biollante.
Yeah.
We believe was killed, and then of course, who was it? The scientist that said he was immortal.
Yeah, that's the science dad. Oh, no,
Scientad.
Scientad.
And yeah, so then I was like, okay, they're gonna have to bring it back near the end, and
Yeah.
we get to the end of the movie.
Yep. Heavens open up, spores come down.
Yep.
Godzilla's like, "What the hell?" As he's drunkenly starting to stumble around, he's like, "What
Yeah,
the
because
hell
he
is going on?"
passes
here?"
out, correct?
Not yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
not
but
yet.
the spores come down,
Okay.
and then all of a sudden the earth shakes, cracks open, and here comes a more monstrous form of Biollante. It evolved from the nice, more delicate-looking flower to now this giant monstrosity of a crocodile head that creeped AC out.
I said it was like Medusa's hair. You
Yeah.
know how she has.
Yeah,
Is
'cause
it
it's
Medusa? The one that has snakes in
Yeah,
her hair?
that's
Yeah,
Medusa.
yeah.
That's
Well, it
Medusa.
reminds me of the same thing because it's like, you got this giant gator thing. You've got this weird, I don't even know. It's like a gator and a whale, I guess, made out of a
The
plant.
idea is, it's like it's supposed to be becoming more like Godzilla, because
Yeah.
the idea of it is that the first form is a rose, and
You
then,
can tell by the
yeah,
teeth.
and
it's
then as
starting
it
to look like
as the second one comes around, it's evolved more into now just a giant monster like Godzilla.
yeah.
It's even worse. Now it's twice Godzilla's size. It's got a bunch like a
It's got
crocodile head.
tentacles.
Tentacles. It's got a
That's what I
crocodile
was saying.
head.
The Medusa shit, where it's
Mhm.
like, And I guess Japanese just love tentacles because there's a lot of tentacles in this movie. There's a lot of them.
Let's just be thankful that the tentacles never went anywhere they weren't supposed to. How about we say that?
I was waiting for those scenes.
Trust me, I would never recommend you a movie that ended like that. Okay, we save that for after dark.
Oh, thank you.
So that turns into, in my opinion, as a Godzilla fan, an underwhelming battle because it's one of the coolest. If you like the series like I do, it's one of the coolest monster designs and fresh and something different. But because it's so difficult to do that practically, they didn't have a ton of time to actually make the battle longer. So it only lasts a couple minutes.
Yep.
Battle lasts a couple minutes.
Yeah, it was a really short fight.
Yeah.
Which was weird.
It's because, well, I'll give you a little background. So that literally was a giant, like, almost puppet. That was like a giant puppet that was literally being hauled around by 16 people working on it. It was like
Holy shit.
Yeah, 16 people. It was literally like a giant, what's the word I'm thinking about? The puppets had the strings. It's just blanking on
like
me.
a puppeteer or something?
What the actual puppet's called that has the strings on it and you got the little cross on top.
Oh, I don't know the name of it. I know what you're talking about, like we do with
marionette.
puppets. Marionette or whatever.
No, marionette puppet.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, marionette puppet. It's like a giant marionette puppet, but it was literally being worked by 16 people.
Jeez.
So, and it was huge. So the point, and then it also cost money. So by that time, I'm pretty sure that the budget just ran out, and I was Toho being like, "Well, just do whatever." So
sad because you've got this whole movie to set up all these awesome fights, and you only really get that near the end, and you're like,
yeah. Well, that's one of the worst things when it comes to being a giant monster fan. It's just like anything. If you're a fan, it'd be like if you were a horror fan and you're waiting for your favorite horror icon to show up, and it literally doesn't show up for the entire movie.
Well, there is a movie
out.
like that. It's the first Friday 13th, and second one there's Jason. First one you only get 15 seconds of Jason at the end. That's
really
it. Yeah. You've never seen the first one, have you?
No. I've literally seen, just real quick, I've seen the remake,
Okay.
I've seen Jason X, and I've seen bits of like one of the other
Well,
ones.
do you know about the first movie? Like who the killer is?
It's the mom, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And that's what I'm saying is there's full movies without it.
Yeah.
And I could see that in this setting where like, oh, you're only going to get like 5 or 10 minutes of the monster that's in the title that's facing Godzilla.
Which isn't, that's why, it's one of the main reasons why this is like a half-ass, like there's a good movie in it, and that's like the parts I enjoy.
Yeah.
And then that's why it loses me, because so then they have like a half-ass fight. It's still cool, visually cool, but it doesn't last that long. And literally, it ends without a clear winner because Godzilla's too drunk from the bacteria finally taking hold.
He passes out.
He literally just wanders off.
Midday while they're fighting at night, which I pointed out, which is like what you talked about. We've talked about plenty.
Which Toho loves doing. There's a lot of the older movies do that all the time, which is what I actually learned it from, was watching one of the older Godzilla movies that they do that technique of the filming during the day and then just putting the filter on.
Filtering it.
So Godzilla, he passes out because he's drunk from a night of partying. He falls apart. And then literally in this, Biollante just in a slow montage just turns the spores that in the shape of the daughter that died.
Yeah, it's cool though. It kind of like it does the spores or whatever. They kind of do this like weird thing where it's kind of like a DNA. Like it kind of does this weird like waving pattern.
It's a cool effect. No, it's actually a cool effect. It's nice. And during all of this, all the main people are standing in a line and watching it. And the Science Dad or whatever we call it, Science Dad's watching, and he's like, going back to the sky, and everybody's like, oh, this is nice. The corporate greed guy comes back, he's like, oh, this is so good, I can't wait to use these Godzilla cells for money and everything. And the Science Dad is disgusted, and then he sees his daughter's face, and he starts walking towards him, and all of a sudden he gets shot right in the chest, and it's turned out to be, here comes the Ceridian agent again.
Of course.
And
who chases him at the end?
It's the love interest guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he gets Science Dad gets killed by the
Ceridian agent, which never made sense to me, because if you're paying attention, he gets shot on his right side. Now, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but the idea, at least in movies, is usually you get shot in the heart, then you're dead. Or even if, as you're, in real life, most of the time you get shot in the heart, you're dead.
You're dead.
Dude gets shot in the right side, not near his heart.
Well,
and they never explain what happened to him.
You want to know what probably happened to him? Is he probably bled out too much, because I feel like the whole movie just kind of dips and follows the Ceridian guy or whatever. I'm done saying this name. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Maybe, or I mean, only because they end up just leaving the scientist just lying there by himself.
They just leave him there?
Probably he just dies from that, because he just bleeds out in the tent. But yeah, the love interest guy chases him to a really anticlimactic fight where they're wrestling in the mud. he finally gets him on one of the platforms from earlier, and one of
Yeah,
the weirdest.
they were using these platforms earlier to basically change the temperature of Godzilla, essentially.
and use them as mines.
Yeah, so it
but
basically-
they kind of just whatever the way the plot wanted.
Yeah, they really didn't make any sense. And of course, he backs up onto it.
And one of the characters from earlier is shown to have pressed the button. Who I guess this, even as a Godzilla fan, I'm like, doesn't make any sense. The guy gets vaporized. The certain agent gets vaporized. The camera pans out to show the one character had pressed the button to, I guess, kind of show the audience that he just sensed, because it shows them when someone's on the platform to press it.
Oh, yeah, it does earlier.
But
yeah.
it doesn't explain. He has no idea who the hell's
It could
on
have
the
been anybody.
Could have been some random person, and he just went and pressed the button and just murdered somebody.
There was
But-
no contact
Nothing.
between the love interest guy
Nope.
as well as the
So,
guy in the boardroom.
Literally just
What
did-
was that dude's name in the boardroom?
I honestly never got it.
'Cause, like,
ever
he-
since watching it, I call him Captain Caterpillar because he's got the giant eyebrows. So he does that. Everyone's smiling, and then literally my favorite part of the ending is they all just go their separate ways to
Yep.
finish their stories, and the scientist is dead as a doornail.
They don't
lying
even
in a
cover
tent.
him, by the
no,
way.
yeah, they leave
They
his
put the
body.
sheet. Yep, they're like, you guys can look at that face.
He's literally just lying in a tent by himself, dead, and no one's even like, "Oh man, that sucks. That's too bad." Are you checking on him? Then the film ends on a really anticlimactic, ridiculous love. The finally the love culmination between the two lovebirds is this weird, awkward conversation about how he's gonna go off to America because they talked about going off to Massachusetts earlier.
Yeah, a
And he's
weird
like-
reference.
She's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna stay here and just go to bed." And then she's like, "I'm gonna come with you."
Yeah, he literally says, I'm going to go to bed because he hasn't slept in days.
And she's like, "I'm gonna come with you," and he's like, "Oh, really?" And she's like, "Yep, I'm gonna be with you." And then they're just like,
And that's it. And then we cut to the last scene.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
In the
forgot to
credits.
mention as they're having their lovey-dovey, Godzilla reemerges, showing that he's absolutely fine.
He's good to
He's
go.
totally good to go, and he's ready for another sequel. And he's just like, peace, bitch, and he swims out to sea. And then so roll credits, and then
And
you
then
see?
after the credits, there's this shot of Earth, and then it shows this rose floating
so
in
glad
the
you
sky.
say Earth.
Earth.
I know you were. I just love that. I love
Earth.
her and Earth.
And and then we get a shot of Earth, and then there's a rose in the sky. And earlier in the movie, we didn't really talk about it because it was kind of a pointless scene. But there is a scene where I guess for some reason we had to reuse the ESP character because, like we said, the ESP psychic girl. There's no reason that she should be in this movie at all.
No.
No,
But
no,
now
no.
that you've explained, now you said that though about the movies, it makes complete sense now.
Nothing, but we do get a shot midway. I would say probably like the later half of the movie. There's a shot of her just kind of chilling out using this Sony drawing tablet thing,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool for the time. 1989, that's pretty advanced for that time. But what I'm saying is that she draws a rose in the sky, and then we get to see Earth right there. And at the end of the movie, in the credits, we see a rose floating above Earth.
Yeah, and you were just like, "Oh, she saw that earlier."
And that is called screenwriting. If you didn't know, it's
Yes.
basically you inject one thing at one part of the movie, and then
And
you bring
then-
it up later.
And that is the end.
That
of
is
that
Godzilla versus
movie.
Biollante.
1989.
A
Now,
horrible name, by the way.
well,
Biollante.
but you don't like that?
No.
It's Biollante. Guy.
But what were you saying?
Oh well, most of the Godzilla movies were literally just Godzilla versus almost.
Oh, I know that.
almost
I'm
always
just saying the
Godzilla
name
versus.
of the creature.
Okay, so now lay on me. Was there anything you liked? Obviously, a lot of things you disliked. But why don't you just give me some
Okay.
bits, some tidbits, if you will, my man, my guy.
I could definitely see myself liking these kind of monster movies. A huge part of it is I like the formula setup. That's one of my favorite things about horror movies at the end of the day is pretty much you give me a basic premise and I will rewatch that 40 million times. I enjoy that completely. Things that I really didn't like about this movie was how half-assed it was in the sense of character development, everything going all over the place. You know, I did actually really like the kind of campiness to it, that kind of like comedic sense to it at certain parts and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But I think what kind of overshadowed it and made me really not like this movie a lot was just how half-assed and all over the place it was.
Yeah.
There was characters that just should have not even been in this movie at all or anything like that. A lot of this movie is them just walking around and talking. They're just running around the whole movie. There's not a lot of action that goes on in this movie. I would say maybe 20 minutes of this movie is action. Like 20 minutes of action is in this entire movie.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I think in general, it just seemed like they were trying to cash off of a lot of things that were popular at the time, like you said, that began to be a trope. But at the end of the day, I really actually could see myself watching other movies like this.
Okay.
Obviously if they're not as bad, and I need to just go through and see. I need to at least see the first one. I still haven't seen the first one.
That's gonna be the next one. I think we should be able to do that.
Okay, yeah, we could do that. But I would say at the end of the day, like I genuinely, I look back at it, it was sufferable to sit through. But it's kind of reminds me of like when you're a kid and you see a movie and you think it's really bad, and then you get older and you rewatch it and you really like it, or the opposite, you see a movie you think's awesome, then you go back and rewatch it and it's bad. The more we talk about this, I feel like if I go back and watch this, I might have a second opinion about this. It might change. I might actually think different of it. I kind of see what they were going for in the sense. I think what are they called? Miniatures throughout the movie.
Yeah.
I think those things are freaking awesome.
Miniatures and practical effects.
Looks great. It's super fun for the time, and I don't know. In general, I had fun like looking at those matte paintings in the background and stuff, and all of this kind of stuff. It was goofy, fun. My second introduction to monster movies, maybe not the best idea, but because I know throughout the movie, Scrooge was literally telling me, he was going, hey, and I was like, what? And you were like, I should have showed you this movie, and I should have showed you that movie. Oh, there's two more that I thought of, and all.
Yeah, because I'm thinking in terms of myself. Like if my buddies who do like Godzilla, we said to ourselves, oh, hey, let's watch one. And we think, oh, which one can we watch? Well, we can pretty much watch any of them because we make fun of them for good reasons.
Yeah.
And enjoy them. So I was thinking in terms of that, not like, oh, you're somebody who's never seen this shit before, and so you're gonna need more something that you can actually, grab onto and actually connect to in some way. I wasn't thinking about it.
Well,
and
that's
as we
where
went along, I'm like, oh man, these other ones probably would have been better.
I thought this movie was going to be like an everyman's Godzilla, where you could pop in and watch it and just have fun and then move on with your life,
One I do have in mind that I think is definitely going to be that for sure. That one I can guarantee you is like that.
Well, I really think we should do a Godzilla month. I honestly think we should do 4 in a row Godzilla movies. We'll sit through and pick out which ones we want to do and do that and get through all of them, because this was a good introduction, and I think I can see what direction you enjoy it from, like what perspective you enjoy it from. Obviously it was part of your youth, but I also think that in general, like, you could have a lot of fun with these movies because they're kind of like mix and match. There's all different kind of villains throughout the movies. There's all different, it kind of reminds me of like Batman or some kind of like superhero where there's always different people to fight and there's always cool situations.
It's literally like that. And then on top of it, as more you appreciate film, you appreciate the good stuff in it, which is like how much work goes into the practical effects. Like when you really learn about suit acting, all that stuff, it is a lot of painstaking work, man. And you can really appreciate that. Then you can make fun of the other stuff, which is the writing at times, the direction, the dialogue, all that crap. So it's like it's a mixed bag of like picking and choosing as you view with the right people.
100%.
Yeah.
I had a fun time. Like, I mean, I was in pain through most of the movie.
Yes, you were. It's okay. You can be honest. I get it.
But it's like I said, it's one of those things I think about and I go back to, and I was like, I shouldn't have taken it that seriously. It was kind of goofy, but
it's okay. You weren't. I think if, again, like I said, I was looking at it from my perspective. Now going forward on it, we'll pick a solid one.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
let's give it the bad to the bone rating.
All right, my man. Why don't you, because you've already set me off, why don't you go ahead and
okay
and be honest. I want the honest. It's not going to hurt me because it's not Italian horror. So
I would go 2. I would go meh. I didn't love it and I didn't hate it. I wouldn't say it's a straight bad.
Yeah.
Because there's some really campiness in it that I look back on and I realize, like, I was really overthinking this just because of our podcast, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, I think that the campiness kind of is fun in these kind of movies. I think you don't have to take yourself serious too much. And
Yeah.
80s was a huge time of that. I mean, geez, we did Slumber Party Massacre 2 a couple
God.
weeks ago. And for an example, in
Giving
that
me
movie,
strength.
it's a departure from the first one, where the first one's kind of takes itself seriously. Second one is just everything's out the window.
Yeah.
And I think that was a huge part of the 80s. Like, we're not
Absolutely,
going
yeah,
to take
yeah.
things seriously. A lot of
Totally out of it,
movies, a
yeah.
lot of sequels in the 80s didn't take themselves as serious. So that's why I give it a meh. How about
Okay.
you?
Well, for me, so again, I'm gonna be speaking from as a Godzilla fan and a giant nerd. It's like a 3 to 3.5, and then this is kind of going off.
So describe it for those
Yeah, so-
listening at home.
So a 3 to 3.5 is 3 is enjoyable, watchable, and 4 is so bad it's good, or watch it again and again off of the bat alone. For me, it's kind of like my own scale, because like I said, as a Godzilla fan, I've seen all of them. I know all of them, and really either watching it by myself or with like my homies that do like Godzilla movies, it's like we can watch pretty much every single one and enjoy it, and
Yeah.
and our way of making fun of it, or doing our in jokes, all that other crap. So I can watch it again and again at any point. As a movie by itself, it's not great, and then as a Godzilla movie, it's like half and half. Like I said, it's a movie doesn't know what it wants to be, and there's a good movie in there at parts and at times, but then it gets lost in going in other directions.
So why did you
So-
pick this movie to show me out of all of the Godzilla ones? Why was this the one that came to your head?
Again, because I was thinking about how there's only 2 of these from the 80s.
Yeah.
There's only 2 of the 80s. And I was thinking about how we were, we're doing a lot of like 80s, like really crazy stuff. I was thinking about, like I said, to me, my perspective was, I think about all the 80s crap in this.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about how you could probably appreciate that and look at it and you'd see it. And again, like I said, I try to find ones that also have a lot of American actors in it, or have more American subplots and people in it, because I
Air
love
quotes,
yeah,
American.
American, because I love the dialogue delivery and I love how awful it is. And there's only a few that have like more than just a couple lines or just one person. So I'm trying to stick. I was trying to, like I said, stick to those. But like I said, only 2 are in the 80s. So that's why I thought this. But then again, like I said, I was looking at it from my perspective, which is I could watch pretty much all of them at any point and be like, oh, hey, this is cool. I get to enjoy this. And I wasn't thinking about somebody who's never actually really got into it. So that just it honestly was a misfire. I was thinking I should have probably picked something else. So
Well, I think it was a good choice. Like, when it comes to Godzilla movies, my brain goes automatically to Mothra and Gamera. All the ones that I've seen before in different iterations,
Yeah.
Destroy All... What was that?
Destroy All Monsters?
Destroy All Monsters. Wait, was it? War of the Monsters.
Oh, War of the Monsters.
Yeah, well, there's...
Yeah,
Okay.
the video game.
There's a video game called
Yes.
War of the Monsters.
I used to play that. I loved that
There's
game.
also a video game called Destroy All Humans, so I was kind of mixing those
that's
together.
what you meant. Yeah, which I've played both, but the War of the Monsters was a great
It's
memory.
a great game. It's hard. It's a hard game, honestly.
I haven't played it in forever, but it's good memories there.
We should sit down and do like a live stream on YouTube
Yeah.
playing War of the Monsters.
Okay.
Because
yeah.
you have all this monster like movie history. Because
Yeah.
they blatantly rip off
everything.
monsters.
Yeah, because
it's
it's literally them ripping off everything that we've seen in creature movies without getting sued.
exactly
Because they can't use,
the praying mantis one. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I love that.
But yeah, I think it was a great introduction for anybody out there, Godzilla and whatever, who loves the. How about this? If you love the '80s and then you love Godzilla,
Yeah.
probably go with this one. I haven't seen the one before this one, but I would say go with this one.
Yeah, you go with this one for sure.
100%. It was. Wouldn't say a blast. I would say it was an experiment.
Be real. Just you can be real. It's okay.
I almost said experiment, which I guess it is in kind of a way.
Yes,
It's an experiment.
you're right.
It's a.
We'll get the right formula is the important part.
Well, like I thought in my head throughout this whole podcast, wow, this podcast is so scattered and this podcast is so frustrating. And then I thought, wait, that's the fucking movie that we just
That's
watched.
right. That's
Exactly.
very good.
Well, Scrooge, thank you for your time, of course.
Oh, yeah, you're so welcome.
And for your
RC.
Miramax DVD. I did not know Miramax distributed the Godzilla films. Is that a new thing?
That's a whole nother discussion if you want to
Whole
have that.
nother discussion. We don't
Yeah.
want the audience to sit here and listen to us ramble about movie production studios and stuff like that. So, all right, Scrooge, how about it? My name's AC,
And I'm Scrooge.
and these are
Real bad movies. You know, the whole idea of Biollante reminds me how much I hate the environment, and I just really wish that we could cut down more trees. When we had the chance. And people say, "Oh, save the rainforest and stuff." It's like, why don't we get rid of the rainforest? That'd be really nice. Put more like buildings and complexes and condos and stuff. I mean, I see a plant, I kill it immediately because it's like, why would you even have something so stupid?